Good morning, my dear students. So this is module number 2 on capstone project. So in this module, we're going to talk about work. It's going to be only composed of two lectures, video lectures. So spoiler alert, yung work na pinag-uusapan natin dito is different from the real world meaning of work, which is, diba? Job, trabaho. In solving, mamaya, you will be solving problems related to work. You will be asked questions such as, how much work is done on a particular object. Kailan ko masasabi that work is done on an object? Masasabi ko yon kapag there's a force na in-apply doon sa object na yon, and that particular force caused it to be displaced. Ibig sabihin, nagresulta ito sa pagbabago ng kanyang posisyon. Naalis siya doon sa kanyang initial position. That's the time that you say, work is done on that object by the force na in-apply sa kanya. Okay, for example, this woman who is pushing or applying rightward force on the cart is doing work on that cart. Itong picture, he is doing work on the baseball. Kasi binato niya to the right, papunta sa batter. And syempre, nag-displace yung baseball, di ba? Lumipad papunta sa batter. So, he's doing work on the baseball. Itong ant, di ba? He is picking up a cereal twice his size. Siguro using his jaws, kung meron man siyang jaws or teeth. So, from the ground, inangat niya. Nag-displace, di ba? From the ground above or over his head or its head. Of course, he applied a force dun sa cereal. So, he did work on the cereal, or he has done work on the cereal. How about this? Do you think this man is doing work on the wall? No matter how hard he pushed, no? If he cannot move the wall, cannot displace the wall, that means he's not doing work on the wall. Making ingredients kasi, di ba? So, it has to, dapat merong force, and dapat magresulta yun sa isang displacement. Okay? And dapat yung particular force na yon ang cause noong displacement. So, we will be using this equation in this module. This is the work equation. So, syempre, W is work. F is force. D is not distance, it's displacement. And this is the angle, theta, between the force and the displacement. So, of course, if you're asked to solve for the work, madali lang makita yung force saka displacement, diba? Usually, it's given. Dito kayo mag-iisip sa value ng theta. So, let me show you 5 different cases kung ano yung mga possible values ng theta. So, ano ang value ng theta kapag ang force ay in the same direction as a displacement? For example, this is a free body diagram. You put a force here, papunta sa right. So, of course, because of that, nag-displaced yung box to the right. So, as you can see here, force and displacement is pointing in the same direction, di ba? So, wala kang angle between them. Okay? There's no angle between them. So, dun sa cosine theta, it will become cosine 0. Okay? What's cosine 0 in a calculator? Cosine 0 is, that's 1, is equal to 1. So, para mangyayari, multiply mo na lang yung di ba? F times D. Because cosine 0 is 1. Paano naman kapag ganito? Kapag opposite end direction ng force and displacement. For example, you're drawing a free body diagram of a bike. Initially, you're going to the right. Pero nagpreno ka. Di ba yung preno? Pag nagpipreno, that's an opposing force. So, in a way, or you are actually pinipigilan mo yung displacement noong bike to the right para huminto ka. So, if we draw it like this, you can see that there's a large angle between the force and the displacement, di ba? They are opposite each other. So, 180 degrees. yung angle between them. So in FD cosine theta, this should be cosine 180. If you put that in the calculator, cosine 180 is -1. So actually, it's like force times displacement times -1 pag case number 2. Pwede din naman case number 3, di ba? Pag case number 3, perpendicular yung displacement and the force. So for example, you have an object that is moving to the right. So displacement mo to the right. Pero di ba hindi lang naman applied force yung pwedeng force acting on the object, on this particular object. Di ba meron ding normal force, especially if nagmo-move siya over a surface, a horizontal surface. So is the normal force doing work on the object? Later on we will find that out. But when I say doing work, is it causing it to be displaced to the right? The angle between the normal force and the displacement is, you can see it's 90, di ba? Force and displacement. Let's write it like this. It's 90 degrees. Oh, what happens if you put that in the calculator? Cosine 90. That's 0 actually. So what will happen if you multiply 0 to force times displacement? Okay. So you will get 0 work, di ba? Kasi may multiplier kang 0. This is a reminder as well. To do work, a force must cause displacement. In that particular example, normal force was not causing it horizontal displacement. Kasi in the first place, it's acting on the vertical axis. It's a vertical force. Di ba? How can it cause a horizontal displacement? So normal force is not doing work on that particular object. But yung mga applied force, tulad kanina, di ba? Applied force, doing horizontal force, it's a horizontal applied force, doing horizontal displacement on the object. This is doing work. This is doing positive work on the object. But kapag perpendicular yung force doon sa displacement, that's not doing work on that object. So for example, maybe this is you or your father. He's carrying a grocery bag papunta siguro sa kitchen. So, di ba, mabigat yung grocery bag. Gravity is acting downwards, di ba? So, wala kang makikita normal force yan. Hindi naman siya nakapatong sa di ba? Sa isang flat surface. So, you need to counter the arms or the hands of the father needs to counteract the force of gravity, because if not, mahulog yung mga niya, di ba? Yung grocery bag to the floor. So he has to apply a force, upward force. Okay? FP, force applied by the person, P. And then he is walking to the kitchen, di ba? That means the grocery bag has a horizontal displacement. So definitely, applied force is not doing work on the grocery bag. Okay? Pero na lang kung parang ginagawa niyang barbell yung grocery bag, niya, he's moving it up and down, but he's not doing that. So it's not doing work on the grocery bag kasi yung displacement ng grocery bag papunta doon sa kitchen, but the applied force is vertical while the displacement is horizontal. Gravity is also not doing work on the grocery bag. Okay, because again, by the logic of work, the gravitational force is downward, vertical, and the displacement ng grocery bag is only horizontal. Okay? So, if we do the equation, the angle between them is 90, the angle between applied force and displacement is 90. That will result to 0, di ba? 0 work. Now, remember, vertical force cannot cause horizontal displacement. Okay? So, case number 1, if they point, the forces and the displacement, if they point in the same direction, of course, there's no angle of separation between them, diba? So the angle between them is 0. If they point in opposite directions, the angle between them is 180. Kung yung isa ay papunta sa left, yung isa ay papunta sa right, that's a 180 degree of separation. If the angle between them is perpendicular, Oh, that's zero work. Diba? No work kasi magsi-zero yung cosine 90. That will be 0. Oh, let's go to case number 4. Oh, usually ganito nangyayari in real life, diba? The applied force is acting in 2 dimension. So meron siyang horizontal component F sub x. Meron siyang vertical component which is F sub y. Oh, ito the dog is on a leash. So inihila mo yung dog para sumunod sa'yo papunta sa kanan. So you're applying this force, the red one, on the leash para mahila mo yung dog sa kanan. So aling component, di ba? In our lesson in vector, you can this force in 2D, meron siyang dalawang component. Pwede siyang meron siyang horizontal component and meron siyang vertical component na ang combined effects ng dalawang components na yon ay equivalent dito sa force na ito na diagonal. Okay? So, alin sa dalawang component ang magkukos ng horizontal displacement at alin sa mga component ang magkukos ng vertical component? Anong vertical displacement? Translation, aling force ang magkakaladkad, quote-unquote, huwag naman natin kaladkadin yung aso, no? Magkakaladkad doon sa aso papunta sa kanan. So, syempre, yung f sub x. Diba? How do we solve this during our vector? Diba, we use cosine theta to get the f. So, parang pala, no? Multiply mo na lang ng d. Makukuha mo na yung yung work done by the leash on the dog. Okay? So, saan kukunin yung yung angle kapag ganitong case? Titingin ka lang doon sa horizontal displacement kasi yun yung gusto mong mangyari, horizontal displacement. The angle between the horizontal component, or what is the horizontal component? Here, this angle. You're going to take this angle. The angle between the force and the displacement, since you are displacing the dog papunta doon sa kanan para lumakad siya sa lupa, di ba? Sa horizontal surface. So you're looking at this displacement, or at this angle between the displacement, which is horizontal, and this force, which is diagonal siya. Pero remember, ang i-consider mo lang na force ay yung kanyang horizontal component. Okay? Because you want to look for the component ng force na nagkukos ng horizontal displacement, which is the fx. Okay? Okay, what about cases kung saan the object is being moved up an inclined plane? So this is an inclined plane, di ba? Kasi ayun, meron siyang angle from the ground. Yung plane. Oh, what angle will I use in this type of cases? Will I use the angle of inclination ng aking rampa? Pero di ba, sabi natin, FD cosine theta. Yung theta na pinag-uusapan natin dito, that's the angle between F and D, displacement. So, of course, sinihilan mo yung, halimbawa, may tali ka. So, this force is actually tension, di ba? The tension, the tali is parallel actually to the ramp. So, ganito yung direction ng ng force mo. It will follow the inclination of the ramp. However, ang displacement mo actually ganun din. If this is your initial position, magdi-displace ka in this particular way as well hanggang marating mo yung top, di ba? So, your arrow for the displacement is also parallel to the inclination of the ramp. So, if you will look at here, yung force and displacement mo, there's actually no angle between them. So, the angle is still 0. You will put 0 in the cosine theta here, even though may nakikita kang angle dito. But this angle is naman yun, para sa inclined plane, di ba? Hindi siya para sa force or sa displacement. So, wag basta-basta gumamit ng angle, ha? Pag may nakikita, pag-isipan which is the appropriate angle, knowing that You're looking for the angle between force and displacement. Okay, this is a summary. Displacement and force, same direction, so 0. Displacement and force, opposite direction, so 180 degrees. Displacement and force, perpendicular to each other, 90 degrees. Or, gagamit ka ng cosine 90, cosine 180, cosine 0. Sorry, 0. Kapag diagonal yung force, pero horizontal yung displacement, this is the angle between them. Diba? So, cosine angle, whatever the angle between the F and the displacement. If the object is moving up an incline, o even though nakahilis yung force mo, di ba parang katulad siya ng case number 4, nakahilis, diagonal din ang force, but parallel naman, di ba? Ganon din yung displacement mo, diagonal din. So, pares pa rin, di ba? Pointing in the same direction pa rin, yung dalawa. So, 0 pa rin yung iyong gagamitin. Cosine theta mo, that's going to be also equal to 0. Okay? Oh, there are cases na negative work, di ba? Tulad ng halimbawa doon sa bike. O, dito parang yung bike, papunta sa palusong. So, it's moving, displacement is, let's say, to the right. Para medyo bumagal ka, you will press the preno, di ba? You will press the brake. So the angle between the forces are and the displacement is actually 180 degrees. So if you put that in the calculator, 180 cosine 180 is 1, negative 1, di ba? O multiply mo yung negative 1 sa force saka displacement, you will get negative value for work. Okay? So, you're actually doing negative work kapag pinipigilan mo yung displacement. O pinipigilan mong ma-displace yung isang object. Kasi remember, di ba, para masabi mong work is done on an object, dapat that force it is causing it to be displaced. But in negative work, the force applied to the object is preventing it to be displaced. Okay? Positive work, when we say positive work, the force applied to the object is causing it to be displaced. Negative work, the force done on an object is preventing it from being displaced. 0 work, the force applied on the object is not doing anything, not contributing to the displacement of the object. Oh, ito si Spider-Man, pinipigilan niyo yung train, di ba? That's moving forward. So, with his web, tension tayo dito, no? Pa-backwards naman yung niya, di ba? Yung kanyang web. So, it's doing negative work on the train in an effort to stop it. What's the unit for work? It's joules. 1 joule, kasi ang force, Newton, di ba? Ang displacement, meters. When you multiply Newton times meter, that's actually joules. Ibig sabihin, ang isang joule, 1 joule is the force is a 1 Newton force that will cause an object to be displaced by 1 meter. Okay? Okay. On the next part, we will solve some problems on work.